this is Rhonda Scher with Unleashing LinkedIn, and I am so excited today that I have a friend, a colleague, and a client, Jordan, who is going to be able to share with us all about her new book, which I'm so excited. Jordan WRIGHT specializes in writing books to complement businesses. Jordan provides easy, effortless strategies to get thoughts on paper, allowing her clients to finish their books quicker than they ever thought possible. Jordan discovered her talent for writing while she was still in primary school. By the way, Jordan is in Australia, so you might hear a little bit of an accent, although she didn't implement this skill into her work until much later. In fact, in 2019, she won a publishing contract for her fiction novel, The Mandela Chronicles. Jordan is now a full-time writer working with a wide range of specialties personalized for each individual client. In a short amount of time, Jordan has gone from freelancing to working with six-figure earners who repeatedly come back to work with her time and time again. Jordan has been able to turn a childhood passion into a business that allows her to provide for her young family, and has done so with the utmost pleasure of being able to supply her clients with the result of a published book in their name. And in fact, Jordan is helping me to ghostwrite a book that will soon be released. Jordan, welcome to Unleashing LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I just love the accent. I could listen to you all day. What part of Australia are you in?
I'm in Queensland. So I live in Cairns at the moment. So if you think Great Barrier Reef, that's where I am right now.
Wow. And I know a little bit about the backstory, but talk about the inspiration behind writing the book, The Mandela Chronicles, and all of the exciting things that have been happening since you've written the book.
Yeah, so the inspiration behind my book was literally me and my brothers going and playing with sticks and doing spells and imagining ourselves in the Harry Potter world. So what I wanted to do with my book was create characters that are learning like visualization and manifestation and breathwork techniques and implement those skills into my books so that when my readers read the book, they implement those skills into their lives. And I've actually got a friend who was a grade 3 teacher, and she has been reading the book to her students, and they have been lapping it up, doing exactly what I wanted them to do. So they're like, no, we can't leave the classroom until we've done our gratitude or until we've done our breathing. And she said it's really amazing because I also talk about, you know, the little voice in your head and, you know, that you don't always need to believe everything that your mind tells you. And she has a few students in her class that have some anxiety on their little shoulders. And she said it's really helped them to talk about what's on their mind and, you know, really work through what's bothering them. And she's just noticed that they've really started to relax a little bit as well. So, which is exactly why I wrote the book. To try and guide people through these processes and just try and help them open up a little bit. But I also wanted to do it in a completely fiction manner.
Well, and, you know, and I know you have 2 children. How old are your kids?
Yeah, I have a 4.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old.
So have you been able to share the book with at least the 4.5-year-old?
Yes, she gets very excited whenever she sees it. One of her friend's mums bought one, and I took it to Kindy one day, and she grabbed the book and she was running around and she said, "This is my mummy's book. Look, this is my mummy's book. It's a picture on the back." She was so excited. And because she is 4.5, I didn't know whether she'd make the correlation between it being mine or not. But she has. She gets very excited whenever she sees someone with a copy.
Wow. That is so cool. So how do you envision this book, The Mandela Chronicles, helping people? Is it just for children or can it help adults? Tell me a little bit about that.
It's open for everyone. So I wrote it as a young adult fiction, so realistically 9+. The grade 3s are 8 and they're still lapping it up. They need a little bit of guidance, but 9+. So I know myself, I'm still an avid Harry Potter fan, so I still read fiction novels, young adult fiction novels, because they're such an escape from reality for me. So if I just want a break, instead of going and flicking on Netflix, I'll normally go and find a decent series of books to read. So I have made it so that it can cater for young children, but can also cater for anyone who enjoys Harry Potter or Percy Jackson or Twilight or anything along those lines. And I know that when it comes to having a fandom, so a group of people who really emotionally connect with the books, it's usually a lot older. So 17 plus normally is the people who create the fandom, because they're the ones that are on the forums and creating the sites and making all the memes about it and all that kind of stuff. So I have written it for everyone. And what I really envision with the book is I would love for it to be turned into a movie one day. That is my number one ambition for my series. But I really just want to start a conversation with people. So I want to be able to go around to schools or talk on stages and talk about, you know, my story, how the Mandala Chronicles has affected my life personally, and the skills that I've implemented myself that I've weaved into the book to help other people as well.
So how have people implemented the skills that you've woven throughout the book so far?
They've really started to take 5 seconds to breathe, I've noticed. So the skills that I put in the book are really quite basic, because it is a book for younger children as well. So, and I'm still learning my gratitude journey as well. So I didn't want to jump into this book being an expert in the law of attraction or gratitude or breathwork or anything like that, because it's really hard to relate to people who haven't had any experience in it. If you're already an expert, it's sometimes hard to go back to the beginning. So I wanted to do my journey along while I was writing the book. So people have really implemented it in the fact that they're really taking a second to breathe, to focus, to do their gratitude. I've put in some really basic things to be grateful for. So like a roof over your head, some clean clothes, fresh food on the table, clean water, all that kind of stuff that people sometimes forget is a blessing, because not everyone has that. So it's been amazing to have people fall in love with the characters and the story that I've written, but also just take away the snippets of coaching and training that I have weaved through the book and implementing them into their own lives.
How long did it take you to write the book?
This first book took me a few years. So I started when my 4.5-year-old was 1, maybe just before she turned 1. And I started and I stopped and I went back to it and then I stopped again. And then I was always determined to have it written, but it did take me a few years to get the story right in my head. So I'm not a fantastic planner. I'm not someone who can look at something and be like, yep, this is going to be the beginning and this is going to be the end. And so I actually planned this first book and I wrote it the way that I planned it, and it was a pile of garbage. So I went back and I started again. And so that's why it took me so long, because instead of just kind of channeling or letting the story flow, I was so determined to do what I'd planned. So the second time around, I was like, you know what, let's just scrap this and I will just allow the story to flow out. And it turned out so amazing, more amazing than I could even imagine.
Well, you won a publishing contract. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that actually changed your life for you?
Yes, absolutely. So when I finished writing the book, which was February 2019, I was on the search for a publisher to help me get it published, and I was told not to go through a traditional publishing house, you know, like your Scholastic or your Penguin or something like that, because while you get an advance for your book, you actually don't get too much royalties and you can lose some creative control. And I really didn't want that for my series. So I went in search of a self-publishing route, and I was guided to Hayley Page from Notebook Publishing. And I met her and I chatted with her and I fell in love with her because she fell in love with my book as much as I loved it. But I didn't have the money to be able to pay her up front for the publishing itself. So I was slowly putting money away to be able to pay for her contract. But then in April of 2019, there's a thing called Indie April, which is when self-published authors can promote their works, and a lot of people try and support one another in the authors community. So she did a competition called Indie April on Twitter, where she was giving away a publishing contract for the winner of the manuscript. So there was going to be 10 finalists, and it was going to be whittled down into a final winner. And she actually decided to choose 2 winners in the end. So we were very lucky. But there was a few hundred authors who signed up for this competition, and then after a month, her and her team whittled them down so you could send in the first 3 chapters, I think, of your work. Anyway, her and her team whittled them down to 10 final manuscripts, and I was in the final 10, which blew my mind regardless. But then, and again, in a couple of weeks after that, she announced that I had actually won the competition, which again blew my mind, and it has been a complete whirlwind ever since. So since I've won that contract, it actually gave me a lot of credibility as a writer. So when you're a published author, and especially if you're self-published and you're paying someone to publish your book, you're still amazing and incredible, but you may not. I've noticed that sometimes you don't get as much credibility because people are like, oh, you paid someone to publish your book. Whereas when I tell people that I've won it, they actually take more notice of the work that I can create. So whether it is fiction or nonfiction, or it's website copy, or it's blogs or articles, or whatever it may be, they actually take the chance to allow me to weave their personalities into the work that I'm doing for them. And that, because I won this publishing competition, that's actually how I began my writing business, is because the credibility that it gave me has allowed me to reach more people and to show them that, I actually know what I'm doing. And so I'm so grateful for this contract, because it's now allowed me to create a business that, like you said before, supports my family being able to do what I love.
Well, and I also know that you, as well as doing fiction, you also do some nonfiction work and work as a ghostwriter in that realm as well. Are you still doing that?
Absolutely. I love writing nonfiction, especially for other people, because everyone, I feel, has this amazing story to tell, but they don't always know how to get their words onto paper. So I love sharing with people what I've learned and some skills that I've picked up to make it really easy for them. And the looks on their faces when they see their final drafts is just incredible. It just makes me so happy. And they always say to me, I didn't know that I could do this, or I didn't know that it could be so easy. And I get so excited. I'm like, yes, it is easy. And I was like, and you can use this process for every single book you want to write in the future. So I am so passionate about writing nonfiction and helping other people write their nonfiction, because so many people have messages to share. They just don't always feel like they have the ability to do it.
Do you have a success story or two that you can share about people that you have helped, in the ghostwriting world?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one is one of your friends, actually, Rhonda. So Misty, I helped her ghostwrite her book, You Can Heal Your Life with Handwriting. And she has actually become an international #1 bestseller with that book now. And she's implemented it into her business, and she had something ridiculous, 2,000 downloads in a day or in a couple of days or something like that. And she has been on stage to talk with Les Brown, and she's been using her book to bring people into her business that way. And so that was absolutely incredible. That success blew my mind, which is in no short thanks to Misty and her amazing business that she has. But the book that I was able to help her with just has really been able to lead people into her business as well. So I'm so happy to have been able to be on that journey. And another way that I help people is I have a client who I ghostwrite social media content for. So that's nonfiction social media content. And she just fell out of love with her business, and she couldn't connect with people, and she was really struggling to find an emotional connection with her and her clients. And so she came to me and asked me to write 7 days worth of content for her that she could just copy and paste onto her Facebook page and her Instagram to really start connecting with people again. And so I did that for her, and I took the time and I talked to her and I looked at her business and worked out what her languaging was. And so I started writing 7 days